Hello, everyone. This is Chris Kaplis.
Good morning, everyone. This is Eva Ponce.
And so we're going to have a very informal Hangout session. We don't have anything really prepared too much. We just wanted to give an opportunity for people to ask any questions they might have about recent events, any supply chain things, anything about the course, the MicroMasters, SC0x, anything in general except graded assignments, proctored exams, and all of those kind of things. So anything that's for grade, obviously we will not answer those. And so one thing I wanted to ask you guys a question first. I don't know if you've seen the news, but Amazon just announced that they had their first drone delivery in the UK yesterday or the day before. And I believe it was in 13 minutes. Is that right? 13 or 31 minutes. Well, my question to you guys is, what was delivered in the first drone delivery by Amazon yesterday? So send it in, and the first person who gets it gets an attaboy from me. But that's all that I wanted to just see what you guys are thinking. So send in any questions you have, and we can try to answer anything you have. Was there anything put in ahead of time?
Not so far.
All right. Well, I'll drone on then. And a different thing. We'll let some come in, and so we'll see how those go. So last week or 2 weeks ago, I was in San Francisco, and I stopped by a company called OTTO. They were acquired by Uber, and they're making the two things. They're creating something called Uber Freight, which is a marketplace for trucking, and they're also creating autonomous trucks. And so I had the chance to do a ride-along with them on the truck and as well as a car through San Francisco. And so it got me thinking more, and it's amazing what they're doing there in both fronts. But as you think more about this, and this is kind of the stuff we talk about in some later courses, mainly in the 2X we'll talk about this a lot, what will the effect be if autonomous self-driving trucks actually happen? And so this is something that people have been thinking about, and people tend to be more focused on, if it'll happen and how it'll happen. And to me, that's not the right questions. The right questions, it's not if anymore, it's when and where. And so we're already seeing autonomous vehicles used within yards, within short haul distances, and we're going to start seeing them on corridors now. Different countries have different levels of adoption of this. The U.S. kind of lags behind this, but technically there are no regulations against self-driving cars in the United States. All the regulations are about what the driver can and can't do, not that there should be one. So it's kind of interesting. But one of the things, if you can think about it, what a autonomous truck will do, allow you to have what is typically in the United States 500-mile length of haul. Now you could have up to, say, 1,000 miles, because what restricts it in the U.S. now is driver rules, and every country has certain driver rules. You can only drive a certain number of hours, and so that restricts the distance you can go in one day. So for you guys who've taken SC0x with network design, you know that one of the key criteria is to design distribution centers so that you have coverage within 1 day service. Well, if suddenly your ability to deliver in 1 day goes from 500 miles to 1,000 miles, then what do you think is going to happen? The net effect is you're going to reduce the number of DCs you have. And so we could see a reduction in the amount of DCs, which means what? A pooling of inventory, which means probably less inventory. So having these autonomous vehicles that extend the reach of 1 day could have dramatic impacts on network design. So this isn't something that'll hit in 1 day, 2 days, or 1 year, but 5, 10 years from now, it could have a dramatic effect. And so these are some of the things that we're paying attention to up here, and as we see these things, we'll bring them in so you guys can think about them and talk about them. But my main point is, all the tools you've learned so far in this course and in the other courses should help you figure out not just how to solve a problem today, but think about when this new opportunity, a new technology comes out, what can you do? What will the impact be? That's why we're teaching you the fundamentals, so you can make these connections, not just by rote do the same job over and over again. So that's my 5 minutes on autonomous trucks.
Excellent.
What do we have on? Do we have a question?
We have a question. So the first
Caller one.
The first question is related a topic for a master thesis.
Okay.
They said that which characteristics of an item, demand profile, value density, dimensions cost, are relevant to capture the expectations of each function within a supply chain? How to use those characteristics to segment the items into different types of supply chains in order to enhance the collaboration?
Okay, it's way too long. That's way too long. You're writing that's an abstract. And so when we talked, was it 2 times ago or was it last time? Last time
we did.
We did too. That's right.
Yeah.
So the idea was, what is a good research question for a master's thesis or a capstone project? And it always starts with a question, and the question should be in the form. It's like the game Jeopardy. So you always, what are the relevant factors of a product that determine how collaboration can be conducted? That could be one. Mm-hmm. The nice thing about a question, it naturally begs the question, well, how would I answer that? So for this one that you have is what characteristics would lend itself towards collaboration? Is that where it's kind of going?
Yes.
I'd have to think, how would you answer that question? Would you ask a bunch of people and then you could do a regression and say, do a survey, you get a bunch of people responding and then you can try to see if there's any correlations between different ways. That's one way, kind of weak. It'd be hard how you formulate that survey. You could do some in-depth interviews with some companies. You could do a model, right, to determine, think about 2 or 3 of the characteristics and how they would be amenable to some kind of collaboration and try to simulate that. This one's a little hard I'd have a hard time answering this one, or figuring out how to answer the methodology. I don't know. Do you have a different thought, Eva?
Indeed, I'm advising now one master thesis with one of our partners, and they want to have a methodology to have a SKU stratification and to identify the relevant factors in order to come up with this methodology and to have not only an ABC analysis, mm-hmm. a more comprehensive analysis and include also factors like velocity of the SKU, sure. and other factors that are going to help them to make decisions.
For collaboration or for other things? Like
this
forecasting,
is just
inventory?
for a better management of the inventory with the retailers.
Yeah, so that makes sense. That makes sense.
End to end.
So better segmentation.
Better segmentation for end-to-end collaboration.
So for people who have not taken SC0x, if you're this is your first course, segmentation is something we haven't talked about yet. We'll talk about it in SC0x that starts in mid-January. And it's all about dividing your products, your customers, your suppliers, whatever you have, into categories. You segment them according to different characteristics. And we'll talk about what's known as ABC segmentation, where you have A, the real fast drivers, the high performers that are really a small number, the B's, the great mass, and the C's, the rest of the products or customers. So we'll talk about that. And so this could be, come up with a better segmentation strategy. The collaboration thing kind of threw me because I don't know how you test for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we received a very interesting question about in which order do we need to take the MicroMasters series. Mm-hmm. We are going to offer supply chain technology and systems in January. So the order would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or can I take 0 and 4 and 1 at the same time?
Yeah. So we have recommendations. That's it. We don't enforce anything. The only thing we enforce is that you cannot take the capstone final until you've completed all 5 courses. The recommendation is take them in order. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, capstone. Yeah. We're always going to have the capstone right after the SC0x within a couple months, because that kind of makes sense. It kind of ties things together. We're also exploring, don't hold me to it, whether we can run the capstone twice a year. We're trying to, we just have to figure out how much that effort that will take. But that's what we recommend. But if you come into this and you have a strong analytical background, everything we do in 0 is pretty much a basic kind of level for grad school. If you have that, then you can probably jump into 1 or 2. 3 and 4 are kind of tied together. As we evolve these courses, 0 is kind of a standalone quantitative course. We put it in a supply chain context, but it applies to any kind of analysis. 1 and 2 are nice tied together. It's really fundamental trade-offs in design. 3 and 4 kind of go from dynamics to larger tools. So those 2 I would take in sequence. I wouldn't take 2 before 1. I wouldn't take 4 before 3. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to people. So recommendation, do them in order. Worst case, take 1 before 2 and 3 before 4. Final thing is, I highly recommend not taking 2 courses at the same time. You might pass them and you might do fine, but all learning theory has shown that if you binge anything, if you take too many things at one time, You might do well in short term, but it's like in the military they used to call it spec and dump. You learn it really quick and then you forget about it. It's like when you binge watch a show, 20 episodes of a show over a weekend. Monday morning you forget about it. You can't remember it because it's too much. You need time in between the learning. So the whole idea here, and the reason why we don't make it all on demand, we release it week by week, and we have quick questions to remind you of things, is all to reinforce the learning. So doing it all at once, because at some point in 2017 we'll have 3 courses at the same time.
Yeah.
I hope we won't see you in all 3 courses, because that means you're not really learning it. You're just doing it to pass the test. So I recommend you do them in order if you can.
Yeah, I fully agree. And for those that just enrolled with us in SC0x, my recommendation is go to SC1x in January. For those that already complete 1, 2, 3 and now are taking 0, then go to SC4x.
That would be our pioneer potential class. Only the people who've taken 0 through 3 right now and have them passed are eligible to take the exam in 2017 to come in 2018.
Yeah.
That's it.
1,500 people
Yes.
have in this pipeline. Okay, so one more question. What will we cover in supply chain technology and systems?
Yeah, so there's
SC4x?
3 big things. This is the thing that we struggled with because, as you know, some of you who've been with us since 2014, we've been flying the airplane and building it at the same time. It's changed a little bit, and we're shifting things around to make it fit better because originally we were a 1 course to a 3 course to a 5 course. So if you think back to everything we've done, 0 is the basic building block of a pyramid, right? And then 1 and 2 get into models to make trade-off decisions really relevant to supply chain. 3 and 4 kind of bring in some of the qualitative things, get into dynamics, a little bit of strategy, a little bit of those things that make the systems complex. And then in 4, we're going to continue that and show the bridge between all the analysis we've been doing. It's not all in Excel or spreadsheets, but a lot of it's with small data sets, to show the concept. Now we'll make the bridge into reality. So we'll start off and make sure you understand the basics of large database systems. How do real systems do these works? Because as I've been telling you, optimization is done every day in your supply chain. It's not necessarily someone in SAS or Ample just keying numbers in. It's embedded in a system. Well, how does that system communicate? So we'll build with basic building blocks so you understand how databases work, how they tie into larger systems. Then we'll go into more of how the different systems that you'll see work. How does an ERP tie to a WMS, a TMS, inventory management system? How do the forecasting systems tie in? And we'll try to bring in more of a practical side of things, not just the quantitative math. Because if you've already taken 1, you know how forecasting systems work. You know how inventory systems work in transportation fundamentally. But now we'll get to how they actually work in practice and what are some of the trade-offs they make. And we'll finish that off and kind of weave it together with a very in-depth simulation that'll tie together all the concepts that you've taken, that you've learned, hopefully, in the last previous 4 courses. So fundamentals of database, understanding how to manage data in real time. We'll get a little bit into big data, but I don't think we do it justice in this short course, so we were thinking about where we can add that later. And there's some other great edX courses out there, to be honest. And then we'll go into systems, actual supply chain systems, and finally we'll finish up with a simulation that'll, hopefully you'll see how everything links together.
Okay.
So anything else you want to add?
No, I think you cover all of the contents. One question related to contents: what will be taught in the blended program during the 5 months here?
Yeah. So what we've been, and again, the fun thing about this is that it's so new. People are still figuring it out, and that's why hopefully you'll see if you've been here since 2014, things have changed dramatically as we learn more. Hopefully, we're getting better. And so what we've discovered, or what we've rediscovered, is that they're different. The method that you teach and the thing that you're teaching need to match. And so you think of the technique, the audience, and the topic that you're going, and they are different. So if we want to teach analytical things, teaching online, I think, is probably the best way to do it. The learner can speed up, slow down, go to their own pace. You get instant feedback, not always to your liking on the problems, but it's right there instantly. However, when you get into some other softer things, it's hard to do a case study. We tried it in SC2X this last run, and it was okay. We're trying to figure out ways to do better case kind of things when it's not as black and white, they're gray areas. the web does not do gray very well. Online education doesn't, it's black and white. And so what we're trying to do when you come here, for those who decide to come to a blended program, we want to give you some of that softer side. So it'll be a lot of strategy, a lot of case studies, a lot of leadership, a lot of those things that you cannot teach in online. We'll also, if you're coming in the spring, then you have, that's when most of our electives are there. So for example, we'll have electives on, I teach one in depth on freight transportation. We have one course that you're helping with sustainable supply chains. We do one on humanitarian logistics. So you'll be able to do some of those things. But I believe, do we have the messaging out yet? It's going to be coming out soon, exactly what the courses are that you're going to be taking.
Yeah. Next week.
Yeah, so the idea though that we're trying to do is, what can we teach online better, and then what do we teach offline? And that's how we're trying to divide it up.
Indeed, for the simulation game that we plan to include in SC0x, we are preparing one online version and one version on campus and more complex with more decisions. So So
because what's funny is a lot of the stuff that we're doing online for the MicroMasters are things we're doing for the students here as well. I just finished up, the students just took their final exam in SCM260, which is essentially all of SC1X plus a little of 2X. And they just finished up and they watched the videos. They watched the exact same videos that you watched in SC1X. And then in class, we talk about them more. So you're getting very much the same education. It's just that I can correct the errors in real time when I'm in a classroom. And here we have to have a whole team to fix my errors, and it takes more time. But what the point I'm trying to make, though, is that what you're doing, you're getting the same experience as far as the content. And when you come together, we call it a blended program, not just because it's blending online and in class, it's actually blending the programs together. Because we won't keep you corralled as a separate grad program, you'll be part of the SCM cohort. And there's some things you do separate, some things you do just with the SCM students collectively, and some you'll do with MIT students across the board. That's how we're planning it.
Yeah. This is an easy question. Are there plans for SC0x to be offered again in the fall of 2017? Yes, this is our plan. So yes, we are going to offer in January 2017 and also in October 2017, yes. SC0x.
Yeah. So on a point for that, because now we're revising some of the classes, because we found, remember the first one, SC1X, was actually 10 weeks of content and then a final, so it was actually 13 weeks long. And you guys were very loud in complaining about that. And so what we're trying to do is make the classes standard. And so we're trying to figure out the right sequence. But the plan is SC0X offered 3 times a year, SC1X offered at least 2 times a year, yes. And then 2, 3, and 4 are offered 3 times every 2 years or 2 times every 3 years? It's 3 times every 2 years. Yes. Yeah, so 1.5 times a year. Yeah. And so because we're going to have more people going through 0 and 1, and then they feed into the other courses. So we're trying to get that schedule down. But again, we will never, ever, ever have more than 3 courses running at one time. We would like to keep it to 2, but I don't think we can.
We can do that.
I think it's an infeasible solution.
Yeah, it isn't. What else? Okay, one specific question about the proctor exam. Only Excel and a sheet of paper are allowed? Yes.
Just like the instructions say.
Will the capstone be open book where we can use our notes? The final, yes, for this proctor test, no, it's not an open book, only the key concept document for week 6 that we provide in the test, in the problem. For the final capstone, we will define the specific rules when we have the...
Yeah, let's see how the proctor test works. To be honest, our fingers are crossed. We want to make sure that it actually works technically. That's what we're really testing here, to see if it works on scale, see what kind of issues, how many get flagged, all those kind of things, and just kind of a technical test, and then we'll see how it works.
Yes, one question about the time. How much time will be between the online courses and the capstone exam of next spring?
Next spring, 2017?
Yes, so we are going to end in April, and the capstone is going to be mid-May. Yeah. So around 3-4 weeks between you finish the SC0x course and the capstone. 3-4 weeks.
You'll have plenty of time to forget everything you've learned. Not a problem.
How much is SC1X being redesigned for the second iteration?
Yeah, this is not the second iteration. This will be the 4th iteration, right?
Yes.
2014, 15, 16. So yeah, so some of the big things, remember when I did SC0x, my restriction was I had to use a spreadsheet, and it was either Excel or LibreOffice. Not a big fan of LibreOffice, I'm not. And so it limited me to certain things. Like remember for regression, when I did causal analysis for regression for forecasting, we used the line_est function. We will not be using the line_est function. So what we're trying to do is rip out some of the, I taught some analytical techniques as part of teaching the concepts. Well, I don't need to do that anymore. So I don't need to show you how to do a regression because I'm going to assume that you've taken SC0x so I can focus in on more interesting analysis now. So part of SC1X that made it so long was I had to teach some basic things. I had to teach basic optimization. And so I can pull that module out now and either make the course shorter or focus and add some more additional analysis. Same thing with SC2X. For SC2X, I spent the first week and a half talking about large-scale mixed integer linear programs. We're all experts now, and we're not restricted to Excel anymore. I had to, again, I was restricted to everything had to be solvable in Excel, and that was a nightmare as we got to more interesting problems, especially when we got to production planning. You can only do so much, but now that you guys are experts in AMPL and SAS, that's world-class, that's industrial. Yeah. So we can do much more interesting stuff. Yeah. So to a long-winded answer to a short question, we are going to try to go a little deeper into some of the stuff because I don't have to give the background anymore on the analytical methods. We're doing that in SC0x. That's same thing for 1 as well as for 2.
Mm-hmm. So his specific question is, should I consider audit this course if I already pass as a verified before?
If you really want to.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like the EOQ formula is going to be slightly different. Yeah. If you like watching me or hearing me, you can certainly do that.
And if you have the time to do that, yeah. It's always, I would think that.
But honestly, I would recommend you taking a different course if you want to do online course. There's some great courses out there. I bet Analytics Edge will come out again. Yeah. Awesome course. Jim Moreland just finished up his on optimization. That's a great one. There's some great R courses I wish I could take. I'm actually going to take one this winter. Did you get it from Harvard? How to teach cases online.
Oh, this is great.
No, I'm taking it. You can't.
You're taking.
You'll be busy running the courses. Yeah, so we'll see what we can learn. So I think taking the same class over and over again. I don't recommend it. I know some people like to do it, especially you guys who English is your second or third language, and you get more out of it. That's fine. But generally, taking it to make sure you're not missing something, I don't think that makes sense. What we'll try to do is on the portal that is being released, and we're trying to enhance it. Yeah. We'll start pushing more stuff there for the community, because I think that's what we've been missing between each class. We want to have a community that spans those classes, and that's where we'll start talking about some interesting stuff coming in, the new supply chain stuff. Before the next question, though, has anyone answered my question? Have I gotten any answers of what was shipped?
Okay, yes. Do we have some answers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will go through it. One more question related to this, and I will.
You're going to hold us in suspense.
Okay, only 2 answers.
Only 2? Okay, I will look for it. One question: if a student is not satisfied with a final grade for a course, can the student retake the course and use the new grade for the blended master's program application? This is a good question.
Yeah, sure. But we will see all test scores. We will see every time that you took the course, because we have to consider that. And we take that into, it's a double-edged sword, right? If you take it, because I can paint the hypothetical both ways. One is someone has to take it 10 times to be able to pass it. The other is someone takes it and they show resilience and dedication and grit to take it 2-3 times and really improve it. It's not like the GMAT test. That's why I'm not a big fan of GMAT, because it's the standardized test that really tests on nothing you're going to use. These are meant to be educational. And so you can do it. And I'm not going to say whether it's going to help you or hurt you. We'll have to see. We haven't evaluated these yet. But I'll just let you know, we will see every instance that you took the courses. And so that will be part of your packet that goes up. We won't do super scores or the last score. No, we won't do that. But we will take all the scores into consideration. And especially since, as opposed to 2014 and some of the 2015 class where we used the same grade assignment problems, that can't happen anymore, as you guys know. So it's not like you're going to get an edge up on knowing the answers. That was the case for 2014 and 2015, where we didn't think the honor violation was as big of an issue because it was just a certificate. But now, as you guys know, it's for MicroMasters, the intensity is up there, so we have to make sure that the problems are new and refreshed.
We have the answer, popcorns.
And what else? That was only half of it.
Fire TV.
The Fire TV module,
So
all
the
right.
first guy was Fai, F-A-I.
F-A-I?
U. So,
F-A-I-U.
Yeah, Fai-U.
Fai-U. All right, way to go. So the way to find that is to go to the Wall Street Journal Daily Downlog of Logistics, and it was the first article today. I highly recommend you guys do that. It's free. The Wall Street Journal Logistics Daily Report, I think it's called. It's just an email to you every morning, and it has some really good things just to scan while you're having your first cup of coffee. And it'll keep you abreast of global supply chain activities. Good.
Okay, so.
What other questions you got?
Yes, I think we have also questions about the master thesis
Okay,
and
sure.
topics about that. Let me look for it.
There was also another news story in there I saw about Foxconn. As you guys probably know, most of Apple's products are made in Foxconn facilities, assembled there, mostly in China. But they're opening up operations, and they have operations in Brazil, but they're also opening up or starting to open up operations in the U.S., which could be pretty interesting. Because as you know, as you move the supply chain as an assembly closer to its primary market, the speed is faster, so you have less transit time, so you can react faster. So it'll be interesting, but the cost will probably go up. So the question is there a trade-off for that? But that's some interesting developments as well.
Okay, so one research question. The
Okay.
impact of dry ports and logistics clusters on the container's throughput volumes of nearby ports.
Yeah, sure.
Regression would be the main tool to be used and would be define the different factors that could affect a terminal throughput volumes.
Was that the whole question? Were you reading that? The
Yeah,
regression would be the main.
difference.
So
Yeah,
you
it's
say
like
regression.
he's suggesting
But
this.
here's, so that's great. So the question is great. What is the impact? You always got to put it in the form of a question, not a title. What is the impact of dry ports and clusters on containerized throughput volumes through nearby ports? Awesome. And you could use as a case study, Zaragoza, Spain. You should probably look at Professor Yossi Sheffi's book, Logistics Clusters, because he has a bunch of case studies. So when you say, oh, I'll use regression, that's awesome. That's one technique to do it. But to regress, you've got to have data. And so you got to think about what your data is going to be. What would your dependent volume, your dependent variable be? Would it be the volume? So would each port be one data point? And so you look at their volume, and you have to think of what your independent variables would be. So just saying regression, yeah, that's great. That's a first step. But now you got to say, okay, what data would I need, and where do I think I can get it? And how many would I have? Because if each port is essentially one data point, then you need 100 ports, which makes it tough. Another approach would be to actually do a case study. It's almost a detailed case study of a situation, and do interviews and understand how the interaction, that's more of a qualitative side of things, but it could be done. So great, that's a great question.
It is.
Solving it's a little tricky, because you'd have to look at some cases and get that data. It'd be tricky to get the data, but good.
This is a super general question. What are some possible supply chain research topics within a software company? It can be many, so let's think.
Within a software company itself? Well, forecasting is one of them, because software, so we just had a roundtable here about, 6-7 months ago. We talked about, I don't remember when it was. And we had a bunch of software providers here, JDA, Oracle, Manhattan, a couple other ones. And almost all software in the supply chain space is moving to the cloud. And we'll talk about this in SC0x. It used to be when I was starting out, back when I had hair, we would sell software and it would be in a client server or a mainframe, and the computer would sit in the office, right? And then it started getting more client server, and then it became a little lighter profile. And now it's at the point where most software is delivered in the cloud, where there is not, it's being hosted somewhere else. And so what does this mean? This means that a lot of the coordination delivery is not as big of an issue. There's other issues in coordination of the shared facilities in the cloud. So one thing, though, is still forecasting. Forecasting demand of different things. So all the new product introduction stuff that we talked about if you took SC0x, you heard that the stage gate process is alive and well in software. You have all these wacky ideas or enhancements, and you go through that funnel, with every gate to go to a next stage is increasingly difficult, and you have to justify it financially. That's still there. That's mainly a lot of it. The other stuff, there's not as much physical distribution. You can think of some of the financial stuff, because software is weird, especially in the US, in that you can't, depending on how you are paid for it, you don't recognize all the revenue. So some of the supply chain finance stuff we talked about applies here, because you have to think it's an investment that you don't get all the revenue right at once. You recognize it over a period of time, so you have to think about this revenue stream and how you want to balance that. Yeah.
Okay. So does the blended master will receive same degree as residential courses?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've said that a bunch of times, so I'm sorry if we weren't clear. The same degree is being earned. It's not an online degree or anything like that. It's the exact same degree.
Yeah. The capstone is only in May, or you will have another one in the fall? So
like I said, we're going to try. I'll hold it. There will definitely be one in May. I'm hoping to have one in the fall. Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm hoping to do it. Let's see how well it does. You guys are having a hard time with this proctored test, protesting and burning us in effigy now. So let's see how we can do the second one first.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure out how to do it best, whether to make you guys go to physical locations or to do it virtually. We thought virtually would be easier and better. We'll see. We're testing it.
Yeah,
We're testing it.
indeed, the next question is this one. Do we decide to do virtually or physically? So
We have to decide,
Yes.
and then we can give the options. I don't think we can do both. We're exploring into
no,
that.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
One or the other.
there's tricks with the platforms, and my initial thought going in was to do it as physical proctoring, just like we do GREs or GMATs. But there are so many instances of cheating going on there at the different facilities, and a lot of you guys, we have 190 countries. Many would have to travel, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles to get to a center. So we're trying to figure out the best approach.
Yeah.
And as soon as we know, trust me, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
But part of the test you're doing right now is helping us make a decision.
So do your best. Okay, so are SC0x students who started this November intending to apply for the blended program in 2018? Unfortunately, not.
No.
You do not have time to do that. You just started with 0. You are going to have in January 1. You need to complete the 5 courses. So
Yeah.
no, the answer for this is no.
Yeah, if this is your first SCX course, the fastest you can come and finish the MicroMasters will be the spring of you should finish the courses in the end of 2017. You will not finish them in time for the May 2017 capstone exam.
Yeah. How many students are you looking to take for the first year of the program?
Less than 50.
Yes.
And that's because of physical constraints. Because we're all here in virtual world, I have no constraints. That's why we have 36,000 students.
Yeah.
That's 3 times the number of students we have at MIT in total, right? So once you come here, we're back to the physical world, and we have physics apply, not just cartoon physics, right? So we have to live within our facilities. In fact, the reason why we're in this space now is because they're renovating our space. And so they're renovating it primarily so people coming in the spring of 2018 have somewhere to go. We're doubling our space, but that just means going from 40 to 80. So we're looking at a target class of 40 to 50 people. However, let me say something else, and this is happening more and more. Nothing is restricting you from applying to the 10-month program. There are very different programs in terms of what they can do for you. The 10-month program, because we have you for 10 months, you can get much more engaged in the career development path. Companies come to visit in September, October. We can help you if you're a younger student and you have 2 or 3 years of experience. That's the best approach for you, to be honest, the 10-month program. If you're already experienced in a job and you're kind of more senior, then the 5-month is a better suit for you, because we will not be able to do as much career development in 5 months. We just won't. The other big difference, if you're an international student, one of the nice things that we have here in the United States is something called optional practical training. If you get a master's degree at anywhere in the U.S., and especially if it's in science, technology, engineering, or math, STEM,
I think
yeah.
so. STEM.
If you get that, you get 3 years, right? 3 years of practical training. You can go and
You can renew that.
It's 18 and
1
then
year
18.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you have time where you don't need to have the visa status yet, and you can be hired. You have to be a 2-semester program. So if you need that, you got to come to the 10-month program. It's a U.S. regulation. Coming here in January for 5 months, we will not be able to offer you that optional practical training. I wish we could, but we can't. So if you think you need that and you want that full career development, you should think about a 10-month program. Not just here, there are other programs out there. We have centers in Zaragoza, Spain, Luxembourg, Ningbo, China, and Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We also have a program, it's not a degree granting program, in Bogota for Latin America. That's a different program. But they are all good opportunities for you. And having taken this, and if you have the MicroMasters, that means that you don't have to repeat some of the classes. So you can free up some of the things that you have that you would normally have to take. So for example, we're finding, I was just talking to Dr. Bruce Arnson, I think around 20 to 25% of all applicants now have taken at least one SCX course. So it's great. I highly don't think that you're being funneled that you only have to do the blended. You might want to think about the 10-month or other programs. We're starting to get other schools that will give credit for the MicroMasters.
Great. If I am not a native English speaker, when I pass capstone and enroll to MIT, should I need to provide English score? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
we'll need
you
a
need to do that.
IELTS,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
TOEFL. IELTS is better than TOEFL. TOEFL is not as accurate a test.
Yeah, but yes, you need to provide this.
And we do that not to punish people. Unfortunately, I've seen too many students that are really, really smart, but English is really weak, and they just can't keep up, and they end up failing out. So there's a reason why we do this. When you come to MIT, it's a fire hose. And so it's not the nice self-paced, you get an assignment like we're giving you, and you can think about it for 2 weeks and do this stuff. It comes pretty fast. And if you have to spend separate time learning the language while you're learning it, that's a recipe for disaster. And so we're actually protecting you from yourself for that. So we will be very stringent on that, and part of your application is actually a video. So we can hear you speaking and make sure you understand what we're saying.
Yeah. Is there any certificate offered by MIT once passing the capstone exam? So you are going to earn the MITx MicroMaster credential in supply chain management. It's MITx credential. So the answer is yes, it's not an MIT degree, it's an MITx certificate.
Yeah. There are no degrees online from MIT, and I don't see any coming on in my lifetime. I don't see it, but the credentials and it's a path now. We're the first program that allow you to have retroactively award credits. That was a big step.
Yeah,
big step.
It is. It's a great opportunity for them. So how does one obtain the X series certificate for those? I think the question is what happened with the X series certificate?
Yeah, so I can explain this.
Yes.
So in 2014, Professor Sanjay Sharma asked me to create some courses for an X series. There were no X series at that point, and being an idiot, I said, sure, I'll do that. And so that's where I created SC0x, 2X, and 3X. Midway through launching 2X for the first time, President Rafael Reif announced this whole idea of a MicroMasters, and they asked, well, do you want to be part of the MicroMasters? And I said, sure. And so they said, well, you get to be the first one. And so that requires 5 courses. It has to be a semester's worth of material. And so we had the long discussions, well, should we offer the X series for 3 and then the MicroMasters for 5+? And we thought that would dilute things. But I wanted to honor the promise we made to the people who had already started the program for the X series. And so we completed that. So we will be awarding, once we get the technical glitches done with edX and we make your certificates available, we're still ironing that out. The X series will be released hopefully in the next week or so, but that'll be the last time we release X series. We are retiring the X series after this. It was a great idea until the MicroMasters came along. MicroMasters is much more in depth, much more comprehensive, and we're going to go with that single certification. Having 2 out there in the marketplace, we found confusing. But we wanted to honor the people who had already started. So we're only offering it to those people who really did the courses prior to this. And people coming on now, you can't go into it. So the certificate for X Series has been retired.
And this was announced since last fall 2015.
Yep.
So same
November 2015.
Yes. Okay. A blended program. A blended program has no age limit, but for the resident program, the 10-month, would age be a factor?
It sometimes, so here's the thing, age, we try to think if we can help the person. And so we look for someone coming in. So you know, we don't accept 12-year-olds, but my guess is you're going the other way. So if you come in as a 60-year-old or a 50-year-old or a 40-year-old, we take a hard look and say, well, can we really help you with this? We have had students that come in, I can think of a handful when I was running the master's program, that were in their 40s. And it's a different kind of education for them, to be honest. So they come in and they can be good students, but generally, being someone over 50 myself, your math skills deteriorate rapidly. And that's a challenge for the degrees. So we don't have a hard age limit. No, we don't have that. But as we look at things, we try to understand, okay, what will this person be going on to? So similar with any graduate program,
Yeah.
any graduate, if you look at an MBA or any other program.
Okay, so if I apply to the blended in 2017 and
Mhm.
get accepted, do I have the option of deferring to a later year?
Yes, and I believe I'd have to check the deferment policies, but you would,
That's
I
a good
believe it's just one, you can defer once. I have to check on that with Bruce. I know when I was running the program, it was a 1-year deferment. You had to pay the down payment, but you're allowed for one deferment. But what we don't want to do is have people do it and then they just stockpile and they come
Yeah.
when they want to. Because, but I'd have to check on that. We'll post something on the discussion forum.
Yeah, this is a good question. We will include the answer for this question. Yeah. How much is capstone final exam weight as whole when you consider a candidate for 5-month degree?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
You mean for admissions, I assume?
for admission.
For admissions?
Yeah, for admission.
Yeah, you know what? Since we don't have a track record, I can't tell you what we've done in the past. It'll be a different kind of experience. I've been doing admissions decisions for almost 15 years. And so it's changed over the years. So it used to be you'd only have these pieces of paper, and then we started being able to do more videos. You have more interaction. Now we're going to have a track record of very detailed performance, not just how you did in each class, but how often you participated, right? We're going to know how many questions you did, how long, we know everything because all this data is kept. It's so data rich. So we'll have this whole profile of your activity. And so how we will weight those, I really don't know yet, to be honest. I'm being honest. We'll look at a couple different things. One is quantitatively, can they handle it when they show up? 2, how well did they do compared to the other people who've taken that class? The thing that we are very conscious of, people who took the class in 2014 have a very different experience from those taking it in 2016 or 2017 for SC0x, for example, because the course changes. So we're more rigorous. I think it'd be fair to say that than we were earlier. So I want to make sure that we are fair that way. But I don't have a percentage for you. I don't think I'd ever have a percentage. We look at the portfolio, and it's not a math formula that we use.
I just have a recommendation. Try your best. This is not going to harm. So, yeah, a question about master thesis. If we are developing a thesis that requires data and a lot of papers, literature that normally have to be paid to obtain, will the MIT help to obtain those papers and allow us to the data? No. Yes, this is if they can have access to our library and MIT resources for the literature review.
Yeah.
I think we already
If the data
this and no.
If the data is available in our library or a system to get it, but we're not going to buy the data for you. I don't see that.
No, I think the question is if they have access to the MIT library resources for instance, download a paper for a scientific journal. The answer is no, unfortunately no.
They will when they're here.
Here, no?
When they're on. So if you're on campus, you have access to everything in the library
But
as a student.
As a student, definitely.
Yeah, if you're a student, but
sorry.
beforehand.
No, beforehand.
Yeah.
Oh,
So the
okay,
question is,
okay.
can I
Yes.
provide you access now to the MIT library
Yes.
resources? No,
No.
that I cannot do. When you're
Good
here,
point.
though, and when you actually, we're going to try and push it so so you guys take the test in May, you apply up by June. We'll make a decision by end of July, August. We'll try to do that very quickly. Then we'll let you know in August. So by September, you know if you're coming and we know if you're coming. And we'll work with you very closely then, and we'll try to provide access then if you need to.
Yeah.
to get you a head start, because 5 months is very short. It's over in a blink of an eye. And so we want to make sure you're on firm footing, and especially for that research project, before you step foot on campus. But we can't provide you access beforehand.
Yeah, after.
Sorry.
Yeah, after they are accepted in the blended program. Yes. Is there any major differences between MITx and 10-month program in MIT in terms of difficulty, course structure, and other curriculums?
Well, sure, because they're taking courses that you're not here. So there's some of those things. Faculty, no, faculty is the same. So this is the question. We have to decide. Some of the courses you'll be taking with the students. Some you'll have to take. The blended cohort will take it by themselves because the residential has already taken it. So there will be some minor differences. I think some of the writing courses that they take as well in the fall, you'll be taking in the spring, just because you weren't there. And we didn't think that that was a component that made sense to put in the MicroMasters. Because remember, the MicroMasters serves two purposes. One is, yes, it's a way to get, if you come to MIT, to get some credit. So it's an entry into MIT graduate program. That's one, but that's its secondary purpose. Its main purpose is to give you the credential, the skills, and the learnings to be able to be very successful in supply chain management. Its number one priority is as a standalone credential. Secondarily, it can serve as an entry into MIT. That's how I view it. So the fact that only 40 people from each year can come into the class because of the physical capacity we have, that doesn't matter to me. The real thing is that this certificate, this credential, is going to be valued in the marketplace and by other universities. I want it to be standalone and valid, not just an entry ramp. And that explains why we didn't just have a bunch of little MIT courses that would prepare you for MIT but wouldn't be standalone. We want to make sure that it has a good standalone value.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one more question about the blended program. If we were accepted to the blended program and committed to attend, would we have the opportunity to attend company recruitment events that are available to full-time students in the fall?
No, because you're not a student yet. You're not a student yet.
No, until January there is no way.
We'll try to figure it out. We haven't done it yet, but if you really want the career development stuff, come to the 10-month.
Yeah, it's a different program.
It's a different program.
It's a different program in this
for that component.
Yeah, different. For that component, it's different. Yeah. Okay. About the course contents, we see Professor Kapli is doing most of the videos, but we started to see guest lectures in the later courses in the series. What can we expect on who will do the videos for the last in the series? Yeah,
we're figuring that out now.
Yeah,
I'll be doing the overarching, but some of the others I want to spread it out. And actually, the only one, let's see, 0 I did, that was all me, wasn't it? Except for recitations. We had 2 different people doing recitations. Roberto.
In which one?
0.
0. Roberto.
Yeah, Roberto and Connor. In one I was everything, but we had some recitations put in. Frederick. 2 I had Jared, Dr. Jared Gensel, Jim Rice, and Yossi Sheffi, part of it. In 3 we had Bruce Arnson and Yossi Sheffi. So 4, I want to have some other people in there as well. Eva will be there. Mm-hmm. We'll have other people doing it. I know you don't want to see me all the time. I understand. I'm not hurt. I'm not offended.
What else? Let's see. What is our reliable quantitative forecasting platform for forecasting new products for FMCG?
What's a reliable forecasting platform? There's a whole bunch of them for fast-moving consumer goods. There's Oracle has one. All the major software companies have them, and there's some also niche ones. For fast-moving consumer goods, the big thing there is promotions. And so a lot of the real specialty ones focus in on the ability to forecast what a promotion will do, because fast-moving consumer goods are primarily moved under price promotions. So I'd have to think about, there's always these little niche providers out there, but generally the large workhorse steady state for those B items, for example, for forecasting, it's all exponential smoothing, and so any package out there, SAS, this is what it's really known for, is its forecasting. I know some of you guys complained about SAS for some of the stuff, but it is one of the best companies out there. Now it's free version online. That's a little trickier, but they are one of the best econometric modeling and forecasting tools out there.
Okay. Do you want to hear again the news source? Is the
Wall Street Journal.
Logistics Daily Report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, just Google that.
Any other question?
So we're wrapping up the time. So if we have any other last questions,
I
if
think
not,
we've
then we'll
covered
close it up. Hopefully this helped. And thanks for all the questions. And again, hopefully you see we're being very transparent, very open, very candid here. This is the first time we've done a lot of this. A lot of stuff we're doing is the first time edX has done some of this stuff. So we're learning as we go, and I appreciate you guys being patient. We're not trying out there to, some people think we're making a ton of money, we're going to retire and buy an island. I guarantee you that is not the case. A lot of people are working exceptionally hard here, in addition to their normal day jobs, to bring this off. So it's really, I hope you guys appreciate it, because we really love having you guys here. So until then, this is our last Hangout, is that right?
Yeah.
Of SC0x. I will see you guys maybe, or you'll see me in the new year. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Keep up the good work.
Happy holidays.
Bye. Thank you.